Hello and welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, we're going to cover function declaration and function expression in JavaScript. Okay, let's start with function declaration. Here, we have to go start it with a function keyword. I will go use function and give this function a name. So let's go give it add. Then the parenthesis comes after that, and then the curly bracket. So within the curly bracket is gonna be the code block. Okay, that is where we have to pass an instruction on what this function add will do. Okay, I will go ahead and go for console.log, and I can go for 8 plus 8. So as you can see, we have created a function right now with the name add. And the second step is to call this function to give us what we have passed within the code block. So I will have to go for the function's name. Whenever we call that, it will give us the result. As you can see, the result is 16. 8 plus 8 is 16. You can call it as many times as possible, depending on what you are doing with that function on your project. For example, if I go ahead and add 2 more of that, I will still see that 16. Okay, if I go again and add that, I will still see that 16. So this is how to create a function declaration in JavaScript. Then the second part is going to be function expression. Okay, so for function expression, we have to start with a variable. So I can go for let age equals function. Okay, then the parentheses and the curly bracket, and then we have to go for the code block right now, the instruction that we want this age as a function to perform. So I will have to go for console.log, and let's go for a string. Ken is 40 years old. Okay, but remember, we have to close the expression with a semicolon. We don't do that with the function declaration, but when it comes to function expression, you will have to close it with a semicolon. Okay, that is how it works. So what makes this an expression? Anytime you get a variable and set it equal to something, automatically that has become an expression. So that is one of the differences between function declaration and function expression. For function expression, you have to close it with a semicolon. You don't do that with function declaration. So the last thing here is what we call hoisting in JavaScript. When it comes to function declaration, functions are hoisted, but when it comes to function expression, they are not hoisted. So let me explain. Defining a function first before you call that function. Okay, if we define this function, as you can see that we have defined this function and then we call it after defining it. But if we call this before we define this function, let's go and call this function add. So you can see that I called this function before I created this function, but you can see that we still got the result to be 16. That because this function defined here has been hoisted to the top. JavaScript will make it come first, then it will run it first before it go for the second part. But it doesn't work with function expressions. When it comes to function expressions, you can't call a function before you define that function. You will have to define the function before you call it. If you do it otherwise, it's not going to be hoisted when it comes to JavaScript, meaning that that code will not run. There will be an error message. So if I go ahead and call this function down here, age, Ken is 40 years old. Okay, you can see what we have here. But if we call this function before defining it, it's not going to work because function expressions are not hoisted in JavaScript. So I will go call it, and then let me call it before I define it. If I do that, you will see an error message. So have a look and you can see that we have an error message here. So you will have to initialize the age first before you call it. But that doesn't mean that this method is the best. Okay? It doesn't make the function declaration the best method. Function expression is good as well, and I think no matter the method you use, the best thing is to make your code, arranged beautifully. Okay, I think the best practice is just to, define a function before you call it. No matter which one you use, make sure that the function comes first before you call the function. That is it for this tutorial. See you in my next tutorial. Thanks for watching and God bless you.